Yo, in this video, we're gonna talk about the best motovlogging settings for the DJI Action 5 Pro. Let's get it. Yo, what up, y'all? It's Tight Shirt Terry Wolf, and I'm back for another video. Hope you're having a fantastic day so far. Remember to be thankful for your freaking life today, because you didn't have to have that, and you do have it, and you chose to spend it with me, and I'm so thankful for you for that. So, in this video, we're gonna talk about, like I said, best settings for the DJI Action 5 Pro. And I also will be doing a similar video for the Ace Pro 2 also, because I know a lot of y'all have that camera as well. Now, a few housekeeping items real quick. I'd like to introduce you to Black Widow. Matter of fact, let's put a little bit of sauce on the screen real quick. The other thing is you cannot be out here in these streets without protection, y'all. Stop riding around squid knit and shorts, t-shirts. I mean, you do what you want to do, but asphalt and skin don't really mix together. So this is from MBT Clothing. This is armored protection. This is their new Bodyguard 2.0 hoodie. It is level 1 armor, CE rated, aramid lining. It's got, you know, pads right here, shoulder pads, back plate, and it's got a nice little pouch right here with zippers on both sides. And these are the License to Ride 2.0 cargo pants. Same deal, these are level 1 CE rated riding pants, hip protection, knee protection on these. The pads just slide in from the side, and these are super flexible, super comfortable. I could easily wear these with any outfit. So with that said, if you want to copy yours, head over to MBT Clothing. Use the discount code TerryW15 at checkout to save 15% off of your order. Now I'm gonna separate this video into 3 parts. The first one is the case I recommend for the Action 5 Pro for motovlogging. The second one, how I have my helmet set up. And then the third one, we're gonna go over all of the settings, but I'm gonna do those on the road, because what better way to show it to you? So let me show you this case real quick from PGY Tech. Now, if you got any of the packages with the Action 5 Pro, they came with like a little plastic case, which I mean, it's fine. But if you really wanna step it up with the Action 5 Pro, check out this case from PGY Tech. So first of all, this is actually made out of metal. So it's very solid. It'll give you some much needed protection if you drop this thing. On this side, you got the power button and also your slot for USB-C. You got a big red button on top and a cold shoe, so you can mount like a microphone or a light or something like that on there if you wanted to. My favorite thing about this case is if you use the case that comes with the Action 5 Pro, you have to remove it if you want to take the battery out. Well, with this one, you don't. So you just press this metal button, this door opens up, and now you have access to your battery and your memory card without needing to take the whole freaking case off. You can still access your magnetic mount at the bottom, and on the side, there's a 1/4-20 mount, and you can still mount this vertically. So I'll leave a link to this case in the description. If you have an Action 5 Pro, definitely grab you one of these. All right, so let me show you how the camera is mounted on the helmet and where I put the microphones at. So first of all, I use a chin mount. I know some of y'all hate chin mount for whatever your reason is. You can get them cheaper on Amazon, whatever you choose to use. The second thing that I do is I use the DJI Mic 2s, and I'm gonna explain why a little bit more once we get out on the road, why I choose these over the Mic Minis. But I am running the lav mic directly inside the helmet, and I have it tucked right beside the cheek pouch so it can pick up my audio, and there's a little dead cat on the end of it. Now, as far as placement for the DJI Mic 2, my helmet has little breathing holes right in the front. So I'm able to just clip this inside of it, and it's not the, optimal placement, but it doesn't obstruct my view or anything like that. It doesn't get in my way at all, and I just pop the lav mic right on top of it. And I like it like this because when I'm done, I could just pop the DJI Mic 2 out and be done with it. So this is a real simple setup. I have tried running just the DJI Mic 2 inside the helmet. My bike is real loud, y'all gonna hear that. And for, these type of microphones, the exhaust does overload the microphone. So I prefer to use a lav mic inside the helmet, and then I also will put a second one in this pocket, my right pocket, just to pick up some of that engine noise by the exhaust, and then you could always mix them and blend them in post. Probably gonna say that again when I'm on the road, but that's how you set up the helmet. All right, y'all, let's set this bad boy up. All right, let's go. Kickstand up. There we go. All right, so let's just hop right into it, right? The first thing you need to do is turn your camera to D-Log M. And I will make sure that I have overlays on the screen to show you how to do all of this stuff. Gotta watch out for that gravel right there. We don't want to go down. So anyways, you need to go turn this to D-Log M, and it's gonna look flat like this, and that's okay. You want to use D-Log M because if you want the sauciest looking footage, you're gonna have to do a little bit of color grading and tweaking. Now, I made 6 custom LUTs to take you from this super flat look to a stylized look without you having to do any color grading. I did everything for you, and I made them for the Action 5 Pro. Only thing you have to do is go into your favorite editing program, drag it on the footage, maybe tweak the exposure if you need to or whatever, and you're done. So I will leave those linked in the description for you, okay? Now, the next thing that you probably realize is my bike is super loud, all right? So we're definitely gonna talk about audio, but we need to make some adjustments to our image. So the first thing that you need to choose is if you wanna shoot in 4K 24, 4K 30, or 4K 60. This is 4K 24. I'm in the 4K 24 camp. I think 24 looks the most cinematic, but do whatever you please. You need to set your frame rate, and of course we wanna shoot in 4K to get the most resolution. The next thing we need to do is set our field of view and our stabilization. Now, this is stabilization off. I totally prefer to roll with no stabilization on. I think no stabilization looks the most natural. It makes people feel like they're on the bike with you. You know, some people don't like this. I totally get that, but I prefer to roll with no stabilization. And this is the ultra wide field of view. If you use stabilization, it will punch in on the image a little bit. So just be mindful of that. Now, the next thing we need to do is set our exposure up, right? And there's a few different ways that this can go. So I recommend, if you want like this super blurry cinematic look, that we need to stick to the 180-degree shutter rule. And basically what that means is our shutter speed needs to double our frame rate. So we're at 24 frames per second. So the closest we can get to that is a 50th of a second. That gives us natural looking motion blur like we have right here. The only issue with this is it lets in a whole lot of light, and if you're filming outside in the daytime, it's way too much light. So then you would need ND filters to cut out some of the light, and the strength of the ND filter is gonna be dictated by how bright it is outside and how much motion blur you want. Now, you don't have to stick to the 180-degree rule if you don't want to, but I like to try to get as close to it to get that natural motion blur. If you want to use stabilization, the issue is a 50th of a second shutter speed, if you're using 4K 24, is not enough shutter for the stabilization to be effective. So it'll work, but you'll see that you might get like some artifacts in the footage or some warpiness in the footage. So just be mindful of that. If you don't want to use stabilization, then you definitely want to go with a higher shutter speed. The next thing we need to do is make sure, like we talked about, that you are filming in D-Log M, so that you can color grade your footage. And then we want to go into our image customization and turn noise reduction down to -1, and also the detail or sharpening, whatever it's called, the -1. You could always add this back in post versus the camera baking this stuff in for you. Go into the menu and make sure the high bit rate is turned on, because we want the camera recording the highest bit rate possible to the SD card. We also need to set our white balance. Now, some people will tell you that, hey, just leave the white balance on auto, and I don't like doing that. Again, we want the best looking footage out of our Action 5 Pro. With the white balance being left on auto, if you look at something that's blue, it will shift the white balance. If you look at something that's orange, it'll shift the white balance. So I'm gonna recommend you set your white balance manually. Now, if you don't know how to set the white balance, you can always flip it over to auto, let the Action 5 Pro show you what it thinks it is, and then flip it over to manual, and it'll lock that white balance in there. I typically run 5600 during the day, and at night I'll go like 3000 or something like that. And then the last thing is ISO. You know, some people will tell you to run auto ISO, and I'm not against auto ISO, but I find that on the Action 5 Pro, it's way too sensitive. As soon as you look around a little bit, it's darkening the image, and it's really, really distracting. So I understand that not running ISO auto, or auto ISO I should say, might mean that you gotta, you know, stop and adjust your ISO depending on how bright or dark it gets outside. But I would much rather do that to have my footage getting dark when I look this way, and light when I look that way, and dark when I look this way. It's really, really distracting. So that's all you need to do as far as image to get your video set up. The next thing that we need to talk about is audio. But before we do that, if you like this video so far, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe so that you get notifications. When new videos go up. All right, so the next thing we need to talk about is audio, and this is arguably just as important as video.
because you want to be able to have people hear you. If you got a sweet sounding bike, you want people to be able to hear you on the bike. You need to be able to balance both of those. So I use the DJI Mic 2 over the DJI Mic Mini. I've tried them both extensively, and I prefer the DJI Mic 2 for motovlogging for a few specific reasons. First of all, it has a plug-in for a lav mic. Second of all, it has 32-bit float built into it. So the long and short of that is it gives you way more range to move the audio around, and it's a lot harder to clip. So if you got a loud bike like this, the audio won't clip as easily because it's recording the full range of what the microphone can pick up to the SD card, which means you can edit a whole lot more in post. So it's 32-bit float. The fact that it has a 3.5 port on it so that you can plug in any microphone. And then lastly, I do find that the microphones don't get it overloaded as easy. I'm sorry, I'm tripping over my words. I'm trying to focus on the road also. They don't get overloaded as easy as the Mic Mini. I tried to run the Mic Mini on a license plate, and it just could not handle how loud this bike is. The Mic 2 can handle it a little bit better, but I just actually put it inside my pants pocket and put the little dead cat on there, and that really helps with the wind noise and being able to pick up both at the same time. Now, the Action 5 Pro will record both of these at the same time on a separate channel, so you can always blend them in post, which is sweet. You can make your voice louder if you need to, or your bike sound louder if you need to. And I do have wind noise reduction turned on, and it does cause some artifacting, but I think it does a pretty good job eliminating a lot of the extra noise and really just focusing on the voice and also the sound from the bike. The next thing that you'll want to do is set the gain to -12 for both microphones. However many microphones you're using, set the gain to -12, and also in the menu, make sure that you have 32-bit float turned on so that it does trigger the DJI Mic 2 to record that 32-bit float internally. As far as the lav mic I'm using, it's the DJI mic, lav mic. When they announced the Mic 2, I believe they also launched some lav mics to go along with it. So I'm using that mic, but you could use, a lot of different USB-C mics, or you could use DJI's USB-C to 3.5 millimeter adapter if you just want to use any old lav mic. The other thing I really love about the Action 5 Pro, and this is not the only action camera that has it, the Action 4 had it, the Ace Pro has it, GoPros have it at this point, is the voice command. So, you could just tell the camera when to start or stop, filming. I won't say the trigger word because it'll stop this. So anyways, that's my freaking setup. I've been testing this out for the last couple weeks. I think there's a perfect mix between audio, video. It looks great, it sounds great. I might be able to tweak it a little bit more. I'm gonna keep testing it, but I feel confident enough to share this setup with y'all. And if you set it up, obviously there might be some variance in your ISO or your white balance or the ND filters and stuff that you have to use, but this is a good baseline for you to get clean footage out of your Action 5 Pro.
Man, it is freaking goose poop everywhere. So that is how you set up your Action 5 Pro for motovlogging. Again, I will leave links to everything in the description. Make sure you get that case for your Action 5. Make sure you pick up, use some protective clothing from MBT Clothing, Terry W15 to save yourself 15% off. And then lastly, make sure you grab those LUTs I told you about that I made specifically for the Action 5 Pro. They will make color grading your D-Log-in footage so much better. Anyways, if you like this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We are almost y'all at 100,000 subscribers. So make sure you join the family. And until next time, I'm out of here. Tight shirt, Terry Warfield. Piece of chicken grease. Much love, y'all. Peace.